So good morning, everyone. Yeah, hello from the other side of Pacific Ocean. So I'm Mian Wang from California, and I feel further privileged to speak with wearing this. Yeah, so they got them after the talk, right? so okay, who am I? As a way of self-introduction, I call myself a product of multicultural education and integration. So I was born, grew up, and had public education up to the college level in China. So I have just two brief pictures there. On the left is really about the old picture from my hometown, Changchun, in a very cold place, you can tell. And I spent all of my childhood and adolescent years there. And on the right is my Armada. You know, it's Northeastern Normal University. I studied and worked for many years there. Then I moved to Greece to pursue my doctoral training in applied psychology. And so you see that kind of a funny one on the left is how then I made another important transition in my life. Jump from Greece to Kansas, United States. So a place there's a lot of cows, right? And then I made a further move to get to the United States to get my second doctoral training in special education. And then I worked in different places, but I've been working at the University of California, Santa Barbara as a professor for over a decade. For today, what I want to share about the things that worked in my context. I know the time is limited, but I want to talk kind of both in the US and the China context, but primarily US context. And it was puzzling what to say, what to share about in 10 minutes, you know, what works. And I thought probably instead of really trying to provide a magic recipe of what worked in the US context, I want to talk very briefly approach, a model we call it a whole school model for inclusive education, which I observed worked in many schools in California and other parts of the United States. And I'm trying to do it in China with a huge project now. And I want to talk four key elements of this approach. And from my observation, really, or for all of the schools I have worked in the USA, I think they have all sort of, particularly for those schools who that have undertaken good practice, they've all gone through some level of systematic change of their school culture. That's why I want to begin with that. That's how we have to work very hard to change the school culture by empowering all the participants, by empowering all the stakeholders for forming their beliefs and their values, which I will really echo with all of the speakers spoke before. That's what it comes first. And again, I don't have time to get into the how-to part. I'm sorry for that. But really, how to achieve a school change, it takes time, takes energy. And the key thing I would really couldn't agree more with the previous speaker is this key word, collaboration, the partnership. And then the other things I realized, usually I have to spend maybe the first year, because I've done a 3-year project funded by US Department of Education for doing this school reform for inclusive education. We spent almost the entire first year for working on understanding their school culture and working with them together for changing the school culture. And then one of the key pieces in that is to help everyone have this real buy-in about what do we believe, why we should believe in this way. And that really takes time and energy for doing that, right? And I'm emphasizing if not all the school professionals, it must be most of them need to be on board, right? So then there's probably strategies that relates to how you do that process. And the other key element is if the school really is on the track of changing their way of doing business, and then the people on board with this shared vision and belief, then the next important thing is not about only talk and think. Is you need to have an existing support system to help everybody learn and to meet their need, and then to do the things you believe are right for the school, for the student. So I realized there's two important aspects of this support system. On one hand, it is about a support system to support the school leaders, the teachers, and everyone in that school who need to learn things and do things, right? Then the other aspect of this supporting system is about you have a sustainable support system that you deliver good services to all the students in need. So that's another key element, and it really takes time to build. And the more important one is not about the improvement of facility, the improvement of adding equipment. It's about the capacity of leaders and the teachers through that process, in partnership. And the last piece I thought is very important is for what people have done in the school, it needs to be a system of assessment. On one hand, it's really kind of capturing what's been going on with what teachers and leaders have done to sort of being evaluated in a way to know what works, what did not, kind of get to Umesh's point. Not worry about making mistake, but you need to have a way of understanding what mistake have been made, why, right? Then on the other hand, is you really need to have this system to consistently monitoring students' learning, how they engage in learning, and what kind of outcome in that process show things has been done right, right? So why I think this model worked in a really nutshell, this is the logic. The logic is for the scholars and the researchers. You need to be empowered to believe first that you need to advocate for inclusive education, right? And then you become a change engine yourself, right? After you've done that, it's really not only about being a good researcher, do good research, write papers, generating good knowledge. Yes, that's part of our job, but in addition to that, really be advocates for inclusive education, and then become a change engine for inclusive education. Now after that, you're in the role or in the mission of empowering all the stakeholders of inclusive education through, again, this key, collaboration. It's not you think you know much more than other people, so you're power over. Even not, in my mentor, Antermo's per, even not power with, it's power through the collaboration. Then, to your point, we must learn from each other always. So I couldn't agree more with you about yourself being a learner, always. And then support the needs. So that's kind of to again, use your analogy, your heart and the head. Then to the to-do part, you really need help teachers and leaders to get what they need. So you kind of, that whole capacity building, it needs to be an authentic process. People work together, for help them, right? And so to implement evidence-based practice, they need also work on the hands part, from the head and the hands part, kind of know what to do and learn together in that process. And finally, sorry, there's one last one on that slide, I'm sorry. Yeah, the final, again, how it worked, why it worked, is you have a system of assessing what happened, and what happened for good outcome, what happened maybe not bring a good outcome. And that's kind of on both, so the teachers and the school leaders and teachers can be held accountable for what have they done to make happen, to serve the student in the school, but also they are encouraged to witness the positive change and the improvement of their practice. So lesson learned. So I think I have learned a lot of lessons in my professional career, and some even learned in the hard way. But today, I think my take-home message for you, my fellow educators and professionals, are three straightforward points. The first is really about pay real respect. I think as Missy said early on, to families and the students. And that's the way you kind of start to, in that process of empowering. and really kind of build the trust form a reliable alliances with families, with community people, and that's how the partnership can be real built in kind of that way. So I will really echo some of the points made by earlier speakers. And the second is the capacity building through partnership. So this capacity building need to be through partnership rather than a top-down approach. And that's from what I've worked in the school is the key to the success. No one, let me put it this way, no one, regardless of so-called experts, so-called superstar in schools, can act alone to make things happen for inclusive education. If an old saying, it takes a village to raise a child, is true, it's going to be equal true for saying it takes the entire community of school and practice to make things happen for inclusive education. I'm going to conclude my talk in using a quote from my mentor and doctoral study advisor, Anne Turnbull, in one of their books they written in 2004. So in there they said, knowledge is powerful, is power only if the knowledgeable act powerfully. So education for all seems to be such an end, much to be desired, and perhaps it's the one that is attainable through the collective effort by all the stakeholders through the collaboration. All right? So if we really believe we should empower everyone, all the stakeholders to become more knowledgeable by working together, then be knowledgeable for all the people, not only the university people, not only the research. We should act powerfully for make good things happen in the inclusive education. Thank you very much.